Whew. I can always tell that spring has truly arrived when I have so many creative ideas that I am overwhelmed in like the most happy, positive way one can be overwhelmed, but it's so much. It's hard to find time to just create all of the things all at once. I swear, springtime, it's just, I always know. I always know. Let me tell you what I've been up to. Today is going to be a bit more of a vlog, but it absolutely has to do with writing, and it has to do with creative writing specifically. I'm working on a project for Lakes of Fire this year, and I'm really, really excited to share that. So let's get into it. So I have no intention of spoiling my own project or my own novel for that matter, but I kind of came up with this idea in a brainstorm session that I had with my partner, and we kind of just like built off of each other, and I eventually decided to utilize my own created universe for the fantasy series that I'm working on currently, because I'm really excited about it, and I found out it would be completely on theme for this year's Lakes of Fire. By the way, Lakes of Fire is a regional burn. A regional burn is essentially a smaller version of Burning Man. I feel like most people by now have at least heard of Burning Man. It's real easy to Google. But yeah, I didn't know that regional burns even existed until about 5 years ago myself. It's kind of something you find it when you find it. I guess you can look for it too. Put anything out there, you'll find it. But yeah, it's basically, a lot of people think of these things as festivals. They're not. They require participation. You will go and you will work, and it is basically building a very artistic city somewhere in nature. And like I said, regional burns happen literally all over the world. So they're really cool. It's like a community of artists and people of various skill sets that come together and create these amazing landscapes together, and interactive art, and whatever you do, you are involved. You are making something, you are working. So it is not just a vacation, although they are incredibly fun and you make really incredible connections. Yeah, there's kind of a lot to explain there, but I feel like at least for the purposes of this video, that's kind of what you need to do. So yeah, when I'm talking about Lakes of Fire or a regional burn, that's what I mean. So the basic concept with this idea here is that I am creating what is a 6-part short story for what's going to be a scavenger hunt where this burn is held. It's held around a small lake, and so the idea is to get people to walk around and have experiences while finding different parts of this story. And since the worlds that I have created, this is all based off of my own universe, all based off of the series that I am currently writing and the laws of that universe and how it interacts with our own world and all these fun little things, right? And so the idea with it is that, I'm writing very much about fairies. Not like Tinkerbell fairies, more like old school. If you look up old legends about the Fae, the kind of things you might find about them, but I'm also putting my own fantastical spin to things. So I've been having a lot of fun with this. It's also, I am super witchy in general, so I feel like the fantasy that I am writing is also going to be extremely witchy. But between that and like the fairy vibe in general, it fits completely on point with the theme of this regional burn that I am going to this summer. And yeah, I absolutely can't wait. So the reason I wanted to talk to you guys about this project, because obviously I know not everyone is going to be at the lake this year, but I have found this process to be really helpful for me in not only adding to the world building I've already done or figuring out more details and all that kind of stuff, but I'm really excited about this because I feel like of pretty much any art form that I have ever done myself or ever seen anyone do, even if it takes a while to do any kind of visual art, you still have something to show for it, even if you're just working on it. You can see it being birthed. And I feel like that's really hard to do if you are writing an entire, not just a novel, but especially even a series. It takes long enough, especially for newbie writers like myself, to even get the first book out, let alone an entire series. I feel like it probably does get easier. I've always heard that it gets easier the more that you do this process, but it's a lot. And I'm really excited about what I'm writing. I'm really excited about my series. I've had this concept in my head for like literally years. And it's taken many different forms, but it's taken years for it to solidify into the thing that it has become. And there's still aspects of it that are evolving as I write. So it's been really challenging for me to not be able to share more of that with people. I mean, I can talk about my ideas and my concepts, but it's not the same as being like, here is my actual work, like read the story. So this project is super exciting for me. The series that I am writing, for anyone who has not checked out my blog site, you can totally do that. The link is in the description below. But for anyone who hasn't like browsed around on there and seen some of the things that I'm working on or whatever, my series is called The Fairy Kim Chronicles. And there's a whole backstory behind that, but obviously it has to do with the Fae. And so with this year's theme being very Fae themed and wanting to create something interactive, but wanting to still like tell my story and focus on my story. And like, last year I went to my first Burning Man, and it was incredible and really challenging. And I was working on what essentially amounted to be, I think, like one of the biggest projects out there. I mean, we were the biggest or most anticipated thing to burn out there underneath like the man and the temple. So we had a huge project. We essentially built an Egyptian temple out in the middle of the desert, and it was a lot. It was really epic, really amazing, but I didn't want to do any kind of big physical art project for a burn. And this idea, I wasn't even planning on doing this. My partner actually is the one who was kind of like, we were chatting, I was telling him that I wanted to make something for the burn, and it kind of evolved into this thing. So I have him definitely to thank for this too, because oh my God, I'm having so much fun. I have 2 more parts to write in this, and I've already started creating the little trinket rewards for at the end, but it's working so perfectly every step of the way into just the whole story itself. It's hard for me to explain without just completely giving it away. And I know that there are people that are going to be at this burn that see this video, so I don't want to spoil it for more people than I've already slightly maybe spoiled things for, to some degree. But the idea is that I'm going to, each part is at most like 500 words, and I've kind of gone through this process of like each part is a different part of the main story, and then that's being narrated in these letters from Fairy. And then each different part is focusing also on a different fairy nation in my world, and kind of talking about like a little bit about their histories and all of this. And then it's going to come together, and the idea is that by the end of it, people can discover their true Fae lineage. It's really fun. I'm having a blast. And the idea after the burn is over, I'm going to invite people to feel free to reach out via email if they want like their own copies of the stories, and also give them a way to, follow the progress if they're interested in reading my novels whenever I do publish them. And this could be something that I build on every year for different burns and things like that. And just like have a lot of fun with. Now, this isn't necessarily the intent, but while I've been planning this out, I do feel like it is a way to kind of get people following the story before I even have a single book out. And so that's another reason I wanted to talk about this with you guys, because obviously not everyone goes to Burns. Not everybody is going to have necessarily the same kind of lifestyle that I have or opportunities that I have with certain things. But if there is a way that you can do things like this for your own stories, come up with some kind of fun little smaller creative writing project having to do with your story, and like pull your friends and family in that way, and even if you're doing something more at a more mainstream event or whatever, but find little ways to do things like that. And I just feel like that could be a really fun way to help you write better, get people on board with your story, and just get that urge to share all of that work you've been doing for so long, however long you've been working on your story, to just be able to share a little bit of that in like a writing format for people. Yeah, for me, it's helping a lot with that, like, "Ugh, why can't I just have more time to write? You know what I mean? If I could just get paid to sit around and write all day, I would have already published this first novel at least. At least, but you know how life be. So I'm curious, comment below, like, are there little creative writing projects that you have done in the past or that you've been thinking about doing? As I've been talking, have you had any ideas pop into mind about your own ways of coming up with, sharing some of your writing with people, short of sending them an entire chapter? Is there like a fun little creative way that you have an idea, similar to what I've been talking about, completely different? Let's talk about it. I would love to hear. And what projects in general are you working on? Like, any kind of art form would be really cool to hear about, but especially if you're writing your own books, I would love to hear what you guys are working on. I post videos every Wednesday, and I do try for at least one sometime on weekends. So I try for at least 2 a week. I can't guarantee that'll happen as much for the next few weeks coming up, just because aside from this project, I'm also working on a project for Earth Day this year for an event here in the city I live in. So that's taking up kind of a lot of my time, and there's a definite time crunch there. So bear with me, but you will for sure always get my Wednesday videos, and I'll get back to 2 a week as soon as I possibly can. Might even still be able to do them, so we'll see. But in the meantime, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much to all my new subscribers. You guys, like, that was crazy. I had like a massive jump of like 40 new subscribers over like 2 days. You guys are amazing. Thank you all so much. If you've been here since the beginning, I love y'all, and I will see y'all very, very soon. Take care. Happy writing.